If you have a 14 to 18 Chevy Silverado like you see behind me, and you want the best LED off-road pod light, this is it. This is the Morimoto 4Banger, and in today's video, I'm gonna show you how to mount it on the Morimoto A-pillar kit. In case you guys are living under a rock, the Morimoto 4Banger is the brightest LED pod light we have ever tested. If you wanna see how we came to that conclusion, check out the other videos. Now that you decided the Morimoto 4Banger is right for your Silverado, let's get to the install. First thing we're gonna do is pop the hood. So your hood is open. The first thing we're gonna do is install the brackets from Morimoto. If you don't know exactly what brackets and the relay harness that you guys need, there is a kit at headlightrevolution.com. Just type in your year, make, and model, and you'll see everything that you need for this install. First thing we're gonna do is install the vehicle-specific bracket. So here's the bracket we're gonna install, and it's gonna go something like this down by the hood here. It's gonna go underneath these two 13mm bolts, and then we're just gonna slide this in and then tighten her down. Now your hood could move on you if you take these all the way out, or even if you loosen them, the hood might shift a little. So if you wanted to put a piece of tape down here and mark it and then cut it, just be careful with your knife so you don't cut your paint, you can do that too. No matter how you mark it, as long as you put the bolts back in and the hood is exactly where it was when you took them out, everything's fine. Now this bracket is just opposite of the driver's side. So I'm gonna take this little tag off here from Morimoto. Within your kit, you're gonna notice this little tab right here. We're gonna push these into the bracket before we mount them on the hood. That's because you can't get these in the bracket if you haven't mounted previously. So we got one there. Push those two wire hiders in right there, and now we can get to loosening up these 13mm sockets holding the hood on. Don't take them out, just loosen them up. You probably noticed the hood shift a little bit, and that's okay. We're gonna line it up again later. All right, we're gonna try to fit this bracket underneath those two. We might have to loosen them up a little bit more. Bottom just needs a little bit of loosening. And slide it in. We're gonna push it all the way in, and then we're gonna tighten these back down while also keeping in mind where the hood was originally. So we got the first one tightened, and now tighten up the back one. Make sure it's all the way tight. And there you go. Do the exact same thing on the other side with the other bracket. So now that you got your second bracket mounted, lower the hood just a little bit to make sure that it's adjusted properly. The last thing you want to do is close the hood and then have it smash on the fender or something. So now that the hood is aligned properly, we're going to install a relay harness. So grab your relay harness. It looks something like this. Let's do one thing at a time. This is the relay. Now the relay we're going to mount anywhere around the battery. And it's gotta be mounted upright. You don't want it upside down. The last thing you want is any water intrusion. Now, these are essentially waterproof, but just better safe than sorry. Now, on this side, there is a switch. Now, this is a Morimoto switch. It lights up. If you have upfitter switches or an aftermarket switch and you don't want the Morimoto switch, they thought ahead. When you follow this wiring down, you're gonna notice this right here. It's a barrel connector and it's a waterproof connection. We're gonna remove it anyways right now because we do have to pass this wire through the firewall later on, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's remove this now. So this is removed. However, Morimoto thought ahead again. Like I said, if you don't want that switch, then you wanna connect to an upfitter switch or a different aftermarket switch. They also include this wire. Now this goes right to this barrel connector on the switch, and then it just goes to a bare wire like this. So they thought ahead. But we are gonna install the Morimoto switch, set that off to the side, and let's keep moving. We got two more wires here in the relay harness kit, and both of these are gonna get connected to the relay harness. One's gonna go to the passenger side, one's gonna be routed over to the driver's side. Let's do the relay mounting first. Again, this is what the relay looks like, and we're gonna take all this other wiring and just drape it over the engine bay for now. This needs to be mounted upright, and we're just gonna put it right down here by the battery. I do apologize, it's gonna be so hard to see on camera. I'm gonna use a zip tie and just put it through the eyelet, make sure that it's mounted upright, and tighten it down. Now we have about 5 more connections to make, so reach down here on your relay harness and find this Deutsch connector. It should say light 2. We're gonna route this and just rest it over here by that bracket you just installed on the passenger side. And put it down here. Just leave it sit for a second, because what we're gonna do is grab the second Deutsch connector that says light 1. This is light 1, looks like this, but in order to get it all the way across the engine bay, we do have to add the extension harness. This is what the extension harness looks like, and thankfully you only need one of them, so the second extension harness that you guys have in your kit, you can just throw it away. Now, so let's plug it in and run it over to the driver's side. Now there's only 3 wires left connected to this relay harness. The positive and negative battery terminals, we're gonna do that at the very end. So then you're left with this right here, which is the switch wire. I'm going to run this over the engine bay, follow the same wire we just ran to power up the 4Banger on the driver's side. We're then going to go to the inside of the cab. When drilling that 3/4 inch hole, be very cautious as to where you drill it. The last thing you wanna do is drill into wiring. Now, you do have to pass the wiring through. I'm gonna put it right here, but your vehicle and your trim level might look different. So you can do it down here or over here, kind of by the steering wheel, but you do have to double check. Just be very cautious. Since putting this switch is really up to you, I'm gonna breeze through this. I'm gonna pop these panels out, I'm gonna unplug this wiring, and I'm gonna dive in here and drill a hole. Then I'm gonna remove the locking collar that is on the switch itself. I'm gonna pass it through the plastic hole that I just drilled, and then put the locking collar back on the switch. Now the switch wire has to get ran through the firewall. In order to do that, I'm gonna take a wire fish from the front of the engine bay. I'm gonna put it through this hole right here, as you can see. Just put the fish through it, and then I'm gonna tape the other side of that switch to the wire fish. We're gonna carefully pull it through. Now you can connect that barrel connector once you pass it through the firewall. Now that does mean we're not gonna use this grommet from Morimoto. If you want to, you could use some silicone around that wire that we just fed through the firewall. Push all your plastic panels back together on the inside of your vehicle, and you're good to go. So now you only have 2 wires left, the positive and negative battery terminals, but I'm gonna do that at the very end. So what we're gonna do now is mount the Morimoto 4Banger. The 4Banger I am mounting to this truck is the HXB. It's the top of the line 4Banger. This is the brightest off-road pod light from Morimoto, and it's gonna be in the combo driving beam pattern. I like combo driving beam patterns on the A-pillar kits. If you're gonna put these in the fog light kits or something like that, I would recommend a wide beam pattern. More people buy the wide beam pattern than any other pod light that Morimoto makes on our website. So I'm gonna put the white combo beam pattern 4Banger on this A-pillar kit. Let's get started. I lowered the hood to give me a little bit more room. I'm gonna mount the U bracket first that comes in your kit. So go into your kit from Morimoto and grab this. This is the U bracket. It has a C shape like this, and the C shape is gonna be facing forward. We're just gonna set it on this bracket that we just installed. Now grab the hardware. We're gonna take the bolt, put it from the top down. Then we're gonna use the washer and the 17mm nut and tighten that down. I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit, but you don't need to over tighten these, especially because you're gonna wanna adjust them when the 4Banger is on and powered up. Now take your 4Banger, whichever one you chose, and on each side you're gonna put the T30 bolts on the sides. So let's put it in there, put your 2 bolts in, tighten them down. This too, we don't have to tighten this down all the way, just get it snug, and then go to the other side. We're gonna adjust this later vertically and horizontally. On this side, you can now plug in that 4Banger, and then go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Now all I gotta do is connect the positive and negative battery terminals. Let's start with the negative first. Remove this little 10mm bolt, yours might be different, and put this eyelet over that bolt and then tighten it back down, making sure that it's real tight. Do the same thing for the positive battery terminal, and you're good to go. Now just test it to make sure everything works properly. If it does, zip tie all of that wiring up. Just be careful so you're not gonna wrap the wiring around anything that moves. That's all it takes to install the A-pillar kit from Morimoto on your Silverado. But we've also tested headlights, fog lights, tail lights, interior lights, and so much more. So go to headlightrevolution.com, type in your year, make, and model, and you'll see everything there.